Britain criticized for its slow response to its hurricane-hit territories in the Caribbean. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Tuesday, September 12th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. Some of the British overseas territories in the Caribbean were among the worst hit when Hurricane Irma slammed the Northern Caribbean last week. Bermuda was not one of them, but Premier David Burt has criticized the delayed response of the United Kingdom government to the devastation in some of its territories. During an interview with ITV Network in Britain, he said the UK's response was inadequate.
It would be better if that assets were pre-positioned so that the response could have been quicker. The response was way too slow when faced with the strongest hurricane on record in the Atlantic Basin. That much being said, now that the response is actually happening, although belatedly, the concern has to be the long-term rebuilding effort after the restoration of law and order, of where there still are some challenges.
During the live interview, which was facilitated by Bermuda Broadcasting from the Cabinet Office, Mr. Burt made the case that the UK now needs to look at ensuring that future funding provided through the Overseas Development Assistance Initiative is more readily available to the overseas territories. The Premier at the time responding to a question about more funding being freed up to aid the region given the advent of Brexit.
I'm not going to concern ourselves with Brexit because I don't think that's important. The United Kingdom is still the United Kingdom whether they're in the European Union or not. And from that perspective, when the overseas development assistance, which many Caribbean overseas territories are not eligible for, so we see that money going to other places as opposed to the United Kingdom's territories themselves. So when we're talking about the situation in Anguilla, and when we're talking about the especially devastating situation in BVI, that those resources need to be brought to bear. And it cannot just be a one-time thing. This has to be a long-term commitment to ensure that these territories are able to sustain themselves. If they're not able to sustain themselves in the long term, there'll be a longer-term drag on the British Treasury.
With the response of the French and Dutch in providing assistance to their dependencies in the Caribbean coming earlier than that of the UK, Mr. Burt expresses the hope that the situation, were it to ever occur again, would be treated with a greater sense of urgency by the UK government.
That report from Gary Moreno of Bermuda Broadcasting News. Meantime, security issues in the British Virgin Islands following Hurricane Irma's passage are creating concern for one of its neighbours. Premier Alden McLaughlin of the Cayman Islands says there are, quote, massive security issues in the BVI with looting and robbing and prisoners on the loose. And he says until that is resolved, it will be difficult to carry out any humanitarian missions there. Cayman Islands is being used by the UK Foreign and Commonwealth Office in coordinating hurricane relief efforts to British overseas territories affected by Irma. The Premier said an armed police unit from his country, as well as additional officers from Bermuda, were being sent into the BVI, along with 100 UK Marines and 55 UK police officers to boost security. And CMC's Kenton Chance is currently in Tortola in the BVI, speaking to residents to get a better understanding of their experience during Hurricane Irma.
I experienced a hurricane, but I don't been through one like this. I see a lot of real pattern through here, but then, I never see one like this. Never.
It was terrible. Nothing like this we ever experienced. All the hurricanes I went through all my years, nothing never like this.
At ages 72 and 49, British Virgin Islanders Egbert Smith and Kenneth Maduro have experienced a few hurricanes in Tortola, but none like Hurricane Irma, which battered the British overseas territory last Thursday.
What was different about it?
Well, the wind. The size of the wind, this thing was, they said category 5, but I think it might have been more than that. It might have been more than that.
5 persons have died as a result of the Category 5 hurricane, which churned through the archipelago with winds upward of 175 miles per hour. Officials have not released any other figures about the impact of the storm. They have not commented on the age, sex, or nationalities of the deceased, even as persons outside the territory try desperately to reach loved ones. Disaster management officials also have not commented on the number of persons who were displaced and have moved into emergency shelters or with relatives. But Maduro doesn't need official figures to tell him that the road to recovery will be long.
All the other hurricanes we had, we just bounced back like that. We never had, the only destruction really we ever had was like road damage, fallen trees, some house roof and poles, but nothing like this.
A casual look across the islands revealed the widespread damage to the housing stock, as well as commercial buildings, vehicles, and public infrastructure. Power lines are down and there is no municipal supply of water. Telecommunication is available only in a few places and is botchy where it does exist.
Well, it looked like we had tornadoes and so in this one.
Why do you say that?
Because of the widespread destruction, all the buildings damaged. This building falling, we never had this kind of destruction all the years of hurricane.
Mr. Smith recalls his experience during the passage of the hurricane.
Back and forth, we were trying to secure, pick up this and pick up that, but then it was so bad afterward that they had just leave it. I sit down in my living room, in my dining room there, sit down on a chair and put my other 2 foot on another chair. My wife was in the clothes closet, hiding. I'll check on her all the time. And then when I went back, I see she was good. So then I opened onto the hooks, you know. And then when I couldn't do no more, then I said, well.
In 1995, Maryland replaced the 1989 Hurricane Hugo as the standard by which a BVI measures the power and impact of tropical cyclones. But it seems that in the future, Irma will be the point of reference.
This one was bad.
Kenton Chance, CMC News, Tortola, British Virgin Islands.
And CMC's Nicole Best is on the ground in Anguilla, where the cleanup has started, and residents are beginning to try to put the pieces of their lives back together.
Here in Anguilla, the shortage of food and water is of concern to many.
Give us some food here. I'm trying to see if we get some water, wash the clothes and things. I'm stressing. Stress yourself, Father. I'm stressing. Just get some water to wash out and clean the house. I'm stressing.
The Anguilla Red Cross has been distributing supplies to affected residents. Samara Gums has brought her mom to see if they can get some food and water.
And most of the supermarkets don't have anything in it. And it don't make any sense either because a lot of people don't have no money, ATMs, and yeah. We weren't expecting this much damage, but we just need help. We need food, we need water.
But the memory of the horror of Hurricane Irma will live on in the minds of many Anguillans for years to come. One woman who did not want to be filmed said her 10-year-old daughter is so traumatized that she gets anxiety attacks and now she doesn't want to remain on the island.
My humble opinion, and I can be told otherwise, the storm itself was infested with F5s, tornadoes. That's why the devastation is so massive. When you see steel building twist, like you're plaiting a rope, it tells you something.
The walls in the studios were also being uprooted from the force of the winds. The pressure in the studios were so strong at the time. I remember someone in the studios just sitting back and just having to rock, so many times, just trying to hold their ears to release the pressure. Myself, I was trying to unlock my jaw, similar to when you're in an airplane.
Are you careful now? I need some cement to try to finito that because I put some galvanized there. Need some cement. And that's it. Only with the cement.
But in the midst of the destruction, there is hope, and as the faith and resilience of the people shine through. One young man, Leslie Joseph, who doesn't represent any organization, but driven by a sense of community pride, walked into the Anguilla radio station and requested an opportunity to thank Anguillans for their spirit of camaraderie.
I just wanted to personally thank every truck driver, every resident of Anguilla, no matter where you're from. I just want to say thank you. The guys in the trucks, they're working extremely hard. I can feel the difference throughout the island. Lots of galvanized have been taken out. Even if you don't own a truck and thing. You're just cleaning up. Thank you so much. It's a joint effort, and we can only get it done by working together. And I just want to come to say thank you.
It will be days before full assessment of the damage is complete and the true cost of the damage is known. In Anguilla, Nicole Best, CMC News.
And coming up in Caribbean Newsline, St. Lucia gets a request to take prisoners from hurricane-hit Turks and Caicos Islands. Stay with us.
Government of Dominica and Discover Dominica Authority invite the world to the most unique and indigenous celebration of Creole cultures, the World Creole Music Festival, October 27th, 28th and 29th at the Windsor Sports Stadium, Rosso, Dominica, featuring Marshall Montano, Movado, Sweet Mickey, Itana, Roman Virgo, Glass, Yemi Alade, Kai, Zuko Stars, Bungie and Fayan, Triple K International, Ace Banton and more. Visit the DominicaFestivals.com for more information. Say Musicano!
My name is All That Val. I'm based out of Miami, and my music is pop. That's my genre. And my performances are really all about dancing. My music is about uplifting, just being happy, you know.
I love it. Do you write your own lyrics as well?
I do write my own music.
Love it.
Yes, I do write my own music.
How is it in the industry, writing your own music and performing?
It's really hard. I got to choreograph my own routines. I have to write my own music. I'm like all-in-one performer, choreographer, writer, singer.
Well, when you get drafted into this great league, you know, some of us come in at different ages, and as a 19-year-old kid, if you think about it, I'm starting my first year of college, or finishing my first year of college, my freshman year, and life hits. Man, you go to different hotels, you're in different places, in different cities, and you have to adjust to what's going on, and it took me a little while to do that. On the court was incredible, but then you start figuring out what is important to you off the court.
Welcome back. St. Lucia's Prime Minister Alan Chastity says his country has received a request to accept 3 prisoners from the Turks and Caicos Islands, and he says local authorities are working with the British authorities to accommodate that request. But he assured that the government would not do anything to compromise the security situation in St. Lucia. We get more in this HTS News Force report.
In his latest press briefing on Monday, the OECS chairman indicated that he had spoken to the British government and volunteered to house inmates from the Turks and Caicos Islands, whose prison had received extensive damage during the passage of Hurricane Irma. While the Prime Minister received criticism in some quarters for his pronouncement, fresh off a tour of the affected islands over the weekend, he says the offer is still on the table. In fact, this is not the first time that St. Lucia has made this offer.
If you'll recollect, there's some hurricanes in Grenada in which the same offer was also made. I know very well that the British government in particular, when we had Hurricane Thomas, were the ones that were here. And I know the work that they did. And we could not have made it through Thomas without their assistance. In fact, when Prince Harry came here, we offered a plaque specifically for the ship and the crew that were here helping us. I also want to say that we have solutions in all of these territories. So we have solutions in the British Virgin Islands, we have solutions in St. Thomas and in St. Martin, we have solutions in Turks and Caicos. And I know that when you're in a bad shape, that have criminals going around.
120 inmates in the BVI are believed to have escaped and living among the general population. Likewise, the looting and other crimes in St. Martin post-Irma are believed to have been perpetrated by escaped criminals there as well.
So the offer is on the table. We have been in discussions with the British because there are certain protocols that would have to be established that would allow us to facilitate that. There is a request for 3 prisoners to be brought here, and my government is working with the British authorities to be able to accommodate that request. We did do an audit of Bordelais, and they indicated that they could have had the capacity to hold 50 people, and that obviously we would need to know the circumstances in which those prisoners were arrested to determine the level of security that we would have to have. I just want to reassure St. Lucians that in no way are we looking to jeopardize our own security. But I think that all St. Lucians, and the ones that I know, recognize that we all need to help each other.
CARICOM Chairman Dr. Keith Mitchell Tuesday led a delegation to some of the islands battered by Irma. The Grenada Prime Minister is accompanied by CARICOM Secretary General Erwin LaRocque, as well as Executive Director of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, Ronald Jackson. A statement from the Office of the Prime Minister said it was the first of several visits in an expression of solidarity with and support for regional brothers and sisters impacted by the Category 5 hurricane. The delegation's first stop was the BVI, followed by Anguilla, and the team will then overnight in Antigua and visit Barbuda early Wednesday before returning to Grenada. Bahamian authorities are conducting an assessment of the damage caused by a tornado that hit Grand Bahama on Sunday, affecting at least 100 people. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Peter Turnquist said the government was thankful there was no loss of life, and Cabinet has already looked at the overall needs for rapid relief efforts. We get more in this ZNS Network News report.
ZNS News went to Imperial Park community where many homes were damaged. Roofs were torn off, leaving residents exposed with their belongings scattered among the debris. Resident Peter Roberts has been living there for 14 years and says the experience was shocking as one of the tornadoes passed through his home and now his entire house was left compromised.
Me and my wife was in the kitchen and my stepson, he come run to me, said, tornado coming. And we run for the bathroom, but I remember I didn't have no window to the bathroom, plywood to the bathroom, so we going to go to the next bathroom, and that's when it just hit the roof and it knocked all us off we foot.
The Lucayan Lodge Hall on East Settlers Way incurred major visible damage from a tornado as well. Around the corner, the Imperial Gardens apartment complex was also touched by a tornado. Resident for the past 4 years, Veronique Hanna, described the frightening ordeal.
My oldest son, he came home running and he said that there's a tornado coming. Well, of course, I thought he was exaggerating. So as I went to the door and I looked outside, I saw that there was a wind and a lot of dirt inside the wind. And as I kept looking, me and my neighbors, of course, as we kept looking, it got closer. And as it got closer, we all ran inside the house. And when I got inside the house, I felt the house actually shook. And after it shook and everything, then I just heard a big boom. And of course, I thought that was it.
Hannah says after the tornado passed, she went outside only to see that her neighbor's window had popped out and their roof had caved in. She also saw another interesting scene.
I came to the front of the yard, and when I came to the front of the yard, I saw that this white vehicle was in the bush, and I saw the lights on. So as I went there, a guy was coming out of the vehicle, and I asked if he was okay. He said yes. He said he got caught up inside the tornado.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, confirmation that the West Indies women's management team has been sacked. Stay with us.
The track layout in the Salina Torre is very special. We start off through the Salina Torre gate, then a U-turn and back through. Then through the Conrad gate and another U-turn. Then a long high-speed straight to the Amphitheatre gate. That's where we fly in through the Speed S and come out here. Here you've got to be real careful not to hit the lights.
Forever like a cartoon. That's why I cherish every moment that you give me. Me heart a smile every time when you see me. You who hate me and think me I go fight you. You must have mad me no love you.
And you have to keep it real with His Majesty. Me I talk about real life honesty. Them only lie to themselves, don't speak honestly. So them can't angle.
The people living in a separation. Me can't breathe. Me can't breathe. When the youths can't write and can't read.
The British-born songstress with Barbadian parents, Louis Miss Desire Sterling Jackman, feels great about releasing her new album entitled Desire. On the album, she said that her favorite tracks are My Team, which she thinks everyone can really relate to, and You Make Me Say. Miss Desire revealed the news that she was signed to VP Records on her 29th birthday this year as well.
We continue with sports now. Cricket West Indies CWI has finally confirmed the sacking of the West Indies women's management team, which oversaw the Caribbean side's wretched campaign at the recent Women's World Cup in England. In a release issued on Monday, CWI said it would be setting up a new management support structure for the team ahead of Sri Lanka Women's Tour of the Caribbean, which starts October 4th. Recent media reports said head coach Vasbert Drakes, along with Ezra Mosley and Stuart Williams and operations manager Anne Brown-John, had all been removed from their positions. Hendy Springer has been named as head coach and former West Indies head coach Gus Logie as his assistant in an interim management team. Physiotherapist Oba Gulston has been replaced by Ariane Mangar, while fitness coordinator Hector Martinez-Charles has been replaced by Shane Cooper. Gary Bell will take over from Trent Sargent as data analyst. Staying with cricket, Yorkshire captain Gary Ballance expects West Indies opener Craig Brathwaite to excel during his brief stint with the club in the English County Championship. The out-of-favour England batsman witnessed Brathwaite's ability to close up 2 years ago when the Barbadian right-hander carved out a century in the second test of England's tour of the Caribbean. And after the 24-year-old's heroics at Headingley 2 weeks ago, when he struck 134 and 95 as West Indies stunned England by 5 wickets on the final day of the second test of the just concluded 3-match tour, Ballance was left even more upbeat. He described Brathwaite as a gutsy player and an asset to the team, especially in the conditions in London. Brathwaite has emerged as one of the Windies' leading batsmen in recent years, scoring 600s and averaging 36 in the opening slot. He will play the final 2 matches of the season, replacing Australian Sean Marsh. Former West Indies captain Darren Sammy blasted a late cameo, but it proved in vain as the World 11 went down to Pakistan in the opening 2020 International in Lahore on Tuesday. Chasing an imposing 198 at the Gaddafi Stadium, the World 11 lost wickets steadily to decline to 177 for 7 off their 20 overs to lose by 20 runs. Sammy, batting at number 8, smashed an unbeaten top score of 29 of 16 deliveries, while the side's captain also scored 29 off 18 balls. The right-hander's first 7 balls yielded just 4 runs, but he opened up in the penultimate over by hitting a couple of sixes. But the World 11 started the final over needing 34, and even though Sammy slammed another 6 and a 4, the target proved out of their reach. Switching sports now, Commonwealth Games 200 meters bronze medalist Jason Livermore says he has declared a banned stimulant to authorities. The Jamaican, who is facing a 4-year ban, testified before an anti-doping disciplinary panel on Monday. TVJ's Karen Madden reports.
The 29-year-old Livermore made the disclosure during Monday's opening day of his doping violation hearing before the 3-member independent anti-doping disciplinary panel at the Jamaica Conference Center. Livermore, who was represented by his manager Lorenzo Sanford, was advised by JATCO of his adverse analytical finding for metabolites of clomiphene and mestorolone in February this year. But at his hearing on Monday, Livermore testified that the medications were for a life-threatening situation. Checks revealed that clomiphene is an infertility drug, while mestorolone is an anabolic steroid often used for athletic and muscle mass enhancement. The former Calabar sprinter, who was a part of Jamaica's gold medal 4x100 meter relay team at the Commonwealth Games in 2014, said he was considering life after track and field, where he wants to have a family, hence the treatment was necessary. But JATCO's new attorney Judith Clark counterclaimed that Livermore did not have a therapeutic use exemption TUE permitting the use of the banned substances. 6 other witnesses took the stand, including Livermore's coach Michael Clark of Aiken Track Club. The other 5 from JATCO, including outgoing Executive Director Carrie Brown, 2 doping control officers, and 2 chaperones. Livermore's hearing is set to resume next Monday, September 18, where his doctor is expected to take the stand. The sprinter, with personal best times of 10.03 and 20.13 seconds over 100 and 200 meters respectively, competed in the half-lap event at the 2013 Moscow World Championships.
And finally, in horse racing, 7-time Woodbine champion Patrick Husbands failed to make an impression in Sunday's feature, but made up for the disappointment by snatching 3 wins on the 10-race card. The veteran rider finished 4th with 3-1 chance Listen Linda Listen, as favourite Silent Sonnet won the 125,000 Canadian dollar stakes over a mile for the 3-year-old fillies in race 8. Husband's first success of the day came over 7 furlongs when he teamed up with 5-year-old Chestnut mare Into the Mystic to edge the 3-year-old and upward fillies by a neck. Robert Geller has the call.
Off their race and back to the rear Into the Mystic. Gwendolyn H came running out in front of Way to Versailles. A length away Street Cash on the inside Run to the Beat. Sweet Crimson is 3 wide, and 3 or 4 lengths away last is Into the Mystic. In the early stages, going out with the lead, Way to Versailles. Got out to lead by a length to Gwendolyn H back to second. Run to the Beat is third. Length and a half away Street Cash. Similar margin, Sweet Crimson on the inside, making ground Into the Mystic. They run towards the 5/8 and showing out by a length, Way to Versailles. Gwendolyn H is running up in second. On the inside, Run to the Beat. A length away Street Cash. One to Sweet Crimson up the inside, making ground is Into the Mystic. No change, out in front, Way to Versailles, Gwendolyn H in second, Run to the Beat third. They come down towards the 3/8 and Street Cash called on, is trying to make ground on the outside, has gone up to share third, and 2 lengths away second last Into the Mystic. And on the outside, Sweet Crimson heading for the home stretch. Way to Versailles nursed along, turns in front of Gwendolyn H. Over in the centre, Run to the Beat, and down the outside, Street Cash are making some ground. Run to the Beat's coming on. Out in front, Way to Versailles. Way to Versailles, Gwendolyn H, Run to the Beat, Street Cash, and up the inside Into the Mystic is finishing on pretty well. Into the Mystic coming on the inside, Way to Versailles in front, Into the Mystic up the inside, and has come from the back. Into the Mystic has gone on to win. A neck to Way to Versailles and Run to the Beat, then Street Cash. 122.20.
Back.
Grow your business or promote your event through the services offered by the Caribbean Media Corporation and CaribVision. Our distribution provides a platform on cable, terrestrial television, and websites. We cover carnivals and events from across the region. We can bring your event live and alive to the world. For music makers, program producers, businesses, we can expand your reach to in excess of 2 million households daily. Our other services include news updates to enhance your media products, studio space for program and development. We can facilitate the launch of new products and services and training. Contact us and we will help you unleash your creative ability, develop products and services, and provide the medium to watch them grow. Contact Loretta Skeet at cmccaribbean.com or call her 1-246-467-1044 or 1-246-253-3889. Call and book your carnival or event today.
And before we go, a recap of the major developments of this day. Britain criticized for its slow response to its hurricane-hit territories in the Caribbean. And in sport, cricket, West Indies confirms the West Indies women's management team has been sacked. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sports round the clock, log on to CanadaNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and good night.